God has been hijacked. Spirituality has been hijacked. Hi, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am Sagi. I would like to talk today about what have become in this reality. It's been like this for thousands of years, but now in this huge awakening, we are realizing that spirituality as we know it has been hijacked by several people, by several organizations. Well, these people made it to an organization, and we find it mainly in what we call religion. Religion have claimed ownership over God. I know these are words that are maybe for some of you hard to hear. I apologize in advance for hurting anybody's feelings. This is not the intent. I come from a place that spirituality and religion plays a big role in. The cat is here. It's good actually that it came over to lighten up a bit this conversation, since there's so much tension around it. People are condemning people in the name of God. People are killing people in the name of God. This has been like this for thousands of years, and it is time to truly stop it. If we want truly to go back to the source, then we need to connect with our humanness, which derives from our divinity. For we have been created in the image of God. It's been telling us in the Bible, and the phrase in Hebrew says, Betzelmenu uvedamenu, which means in our blood and in our image. God, or the gods, or whatever, created humans in the likeness, in the image, and in the blood of them. Yeah? Bedmutenu uvetzalmenu. And in the word dmut, which means personality. So the gods have created humans in their personality or likeness. And in that word of dmut, in Hebrew, we find the word dam, which means blood. And Adam is the Adam, is the first letter of Hebrew, the Aleph, the first blood, right? The word blood, Adam, and earth, Adama, are related in Hebrew. And then the word Tsalmenu, which was translated to the word image, this word has in it the word shadow, Tsel. So there's a lot to learn still from it, of what is it to be a human. And it's definitely complex, because we have the capabilities of the gods or of God. But what happened down the line is the opposite of things, right? Humans have claimed ownership over God. Nietzsche has been talking about it when he's speaking about the superhuman, right? His theories, his philosophy was also taken out of context by extremists. And this is actually what is happening throughout history. Extremists are claiming ownership of the word, ownership of wisdom, and then they force it by inflicting fear and pain. Now, fear and pain, fear is the unknown, and pain is a restriction, right? A boundary, a limit. So what we do as humans is we understand a concept which is grander, which is big to grasp, which is almost it's almost too spiritual. It's not from this earth, and then we put it into structure, because this universe, this earth as we know it, and the reality as we know it, is structured. It is physical. It's dense and condensed. So we take some sort of understanding that we have, some sort of concept. Maybe we've touched some sort of a divine understanding, and now we want to bring it down to earth. So for it to come down to earth and to manifest itself in a condensed reality, we need to structure it. And when we need to structure something, then we need to put limits, right? We need to frame it. So it becomes physical. So it becomes hard, right? This reality is hard. Touch the wall, touch the earth, touch the ground, touch a stone. It's hard, it's condensed. And what is hard is also painful. And this is also the limits of the human body. Pain is the limit of the human body. When we reach pain, when we touch pain, it tells us, hold on, back off, wait a minute, slow down, right? Be careful. So, divinity has been claimed by those who need to bring it down to earth, those who take the word of truly spiritual people like Buddha, like Jesus, and they encapsulate and then they bring it down in a very physical way that becomes structured, and then they enforce it. And then what happens is that we don't want this force anymore. We reach our limit with that force. We are struggled by those rules and by those restrictions. This is the natural evolvement of things on earth. It's always reaching the peak and then moving beyond that, right? This is also how a child has been created. There is a peak that is being reached, the orgasm of the male and the female. We are reaching a peak, and beyond this peak, a new creation can form, and it takes time for it to shape and become something new and something spectacular, something very amazing that brings its newness, or that wants to express its individuality, its newness, it's whatever it is that it has to bring to earth. It wants to express it, and it needs time for that. But what I would really love for us to start doing is to realize we are humanity, and we cannot force each other anymore. We cannot force a certain way of understanding. We cannot force a certain way of belief. We need to understand that these things happened probably from a place that meant good, but that was afraid. That was afraid to experience the bad. The word bad in Hebrew is ra, which is the same word, by the way, of the god, of the sun god of the Egyptian, Amon Ra. And Ra is the echoing of the word or the opposite word to and means awakened. So bad in Hebrew means not awakened, not enlightened. So what happened probably is that people meant good, and there was something benevolent and magnificent that happened. Somebody brought some sort of information. It might have been from a human source, like the masters that walked on this earth in a human body, and it might have been maybe something from really divine, something from outer space. Could be. We have stories about the Nephilim. It's also mentioned in the Bible, the one that came down from the heavens. We have the stories of the Anunnaki and Atlantis. We have many stories like that, and scriptures and scripts, all scripts to backen that, or to stand behind those things. But the important is that there was some sort of information that came to humanity which not all humans could handle. You can see it on children, right? If you take, let's say, a knife or a hammer and you give it to a child, most chances it will do more harm with that instrument rather than something that is productive and what we call good. If you don't give that child the proper understanding and care and even awe with this object, how to use it, and the child will not know truly how to use it. So imagine that this is what happened back in the days. If an information came from a divine being or from a human being, but a divine information came down to earth, to people, probably most people wouldn't have known how to handle that properly. This is also why the reason what the Kabbalah, which is the secret understandings of the Jewish tradition or of the religion of Moses, the Kabbalah was censored after the information was brought down from the heavens to earth. People sat not so far from where I live and channeled this information. And they immediately understood that this information, people are not ready for this information. Maybe they were smart enough to understand what have happened to people in the past, to stories from the past. So they censored it and they gave permission to access it only for certain individual and only for certain individual who studied this and that amount of years and reached this and that amount of understanding. But they predicted that there will be a time where people will be open and ready for that information. Why? Because we understand what transformation is, and we understand that the soul is being reincarnated in a human body, and it carries with it a certain information from past lives, and that we have the capacity and the capability to touch our DNA, the information that is stored in our blood, right? Which is ancient. Much like I carry a certain resemblance to my forefathers, physical resemblance, so I have, and you have, and she has, and everybody has access to information that is stored in our blood, in our DNA. And that information, by the way, keeps on recycling my own body, keeps on rejuvenating my cells. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you don't need to start learning to walk all over again. You remember. There is a memory cell. And that memory cell is not only restricted to this lifetime. And the masters that walked this earth knew how to decode it, right? How to get the information, how to connect back with that information. That information is also stored in trees, it's stored in water. When light touches water, this information is open up to its all spectrum of colors. This is why we call it memory, which comes from the two Hebrew words mem and or, mem-or, memory, mime and or, water and light. We need to start claiming back our own power and understand that spirituality has been hijacked. There are people who claim that there's only a certain way to read a book and that there's only a certain way to translate that book or to understand that book, and they're very fierce behind that understanding. They are going outside and they are ridiculing other people and other way of understanding, and they are fighting with themselves. And well, the fight is always between me and myself before I take it outside. The ego is the one ruling those people. Therefore, they feel that they must force a certain way of understanding on others because they are afraid of the outcome of what happens if they go their own way or if they open up to certain things. But even this story is full of miracles, right? miracles that they tell you cannot exist, or that you shouldn't believe in. If you believe in a Harry Potter or in Lord of the Rings, oh, this is blasphemy. But this story is here in the Bible. They collect all of these stories and more. They collect rising from the dead. They are telling stories of departure of sea, of a staff turning into a snake, of water turns into blood, of food drops down from heaven. You name it. So what makes this true and other stories false? We have memory and we have imagination, and both can be combined to create a way of life which is respectful of other way of lives. I think this is key here in this universe. And we must pay attention that we never claim ownership over anything, not over a certain way of doing things, not over a certain type of information, and certainly not over spirituality, divinity, and God. But this is truly what happened. People start claiming ownership over God, and they're saying, God is like this, and this is the way to reach God. True, really, who says so? Definitely there were wise people who understood, but they always understood a fraction of what is. Because when you understand everything, then you are not staying in this world anymore. When you are truly expand yourself to become reality, to become creation, to become creator, then you are experiencing all of this at once, and you are not staying in your physical body anymore. So, all that has been said is true, and there's always more to the truth to experience and to find. And when people claim ownership over information and over the truth and over God, then I would like to refer to that word. Ownership in Hebrew is the word baalut, which comes from the word Baal. Baal is the former god of possession and objects. In the olden days, there were two major gods, a feminine and a masculine one. Ashtoret or Ishtar, which is also related to Isis, and Baal. And Baal is the god of ownership and of possession. So if you claim to own anything or to possess knowledge, then who are you truly serving? Are you truly serving the one, the unity? This is something to think about. Anyways, I would love for us to start moving into that oneness, into that unity of masculine and feminine. And it's not going to happen if we're going to feel possessed, if we're going to possess a certain knowledge, or if we're going to claim that there's only one way to reach God. I even hear it from certain Christians that says, this is the way. Well, my understanding of what Jesus said is that the doorway is love. And love is a spectrum full of different emotions and feelings. So there is a spectrum. There is, I call it a rainbow of feelings. Love is the rainbow of all feelings. And you know what? If you go back to this story, the Bible, right after the deluge, the big rainfall that happened here on earth, that endangered humanity itself and destroyed almost everything. Right after that, and this is in the first book of Moses, Genesis, right there, God is making a bond, how you call it, a brit in Hebrew, a covenant. God is making a covenant with all of who's left of humanity, meaning with Noah and his 3 sons, which the story tells us that all of humanity comes from those 3 sons. So God is making a covenant with all of humanity, and he says, you will see, when you see the rainbow, you will remember our covenant. Our brit, our bond is the rainbow. May you have a blessed day and a rainbow and colorful experiences. See you next time.